Bryant's, even though he's from Wisconsin, so that's all right. We got this little rivalry here between Minnesota and Wisconsin, if you didn't know, but truly, Brian's been a great mayor over there. I also want to acknowledge one of my great friends, Jimmy DeMay back there, who's on your board, who I've known most of my life and one of my political mentors. Thank you for all of your work. And I see so many friends here today. It's great to be here in North Carolina with all of you today. Our mayors, our city councilors, our school board members, and local elected officials. And with every municipal leader who not only keeps our towns and cities together, but of course keeps our nation strong. It's just an honor to be with all of you. I also want to acknowledge two great friends of mine who just do a wonderful work for this organization. Of course, Cheyenne and of course Jesse. The two of them are tremendous friends I've known for a long time and have worked with in different capacities. They're doing great work for me. You know, this job, your job, of being a municipal leader is as real as it gets. You feel the gravel under your feet. These are your communities. You drive on the same roads. You go around the same potholes. You send your kids to the same schools and you enjoy the same parks as everybody else. You see, there's no 6 degrees of gilded separation in your roles. It's not about building a $200 million ballroom for some foreign donor. It's about building a new community center and renovating an elementary school library and keeping folks safe. You are your town, your city, your community. And I couldn't be more proud to fight with you and for you. As DNC chair, my job is to support you, to help you win, and to grow the ranks of this group right in front of me right now. That means building democratic strength from the ground up. That means refusing to ignore the real power of our local governments, the power to make life better for people. In these 7 months on the job, I've learned a few things. Let me tell you. One is that a lot of people in Washington, D.C., they want to win the argument. You know what winning arguments gets you? It might get you a nice round of applause, but it doesn't help folks in Durham. It doesn't make life easier for families in any of your towns. Look, I don't want to win arguments. I want to win elections. I want to break the Beltway mindset and reject a well-worn path and move beyond the status quo. For too long, we've seen way too much money go towards stale, outdated, and narrowly focused approaches to winning. Obscene amounts of money. In fact, we spent $10 billion last year in the ecosystem. $10 billion. How much of that went to local municipal races? Not much. Most of it went into 7 battleground states, which meant at the expense of 43 other states. We can no longer abide that as a national party. We ceded far too much ground to those who are hell-bent on doing things like turning basic health care into a luxury good, robbing the middle class, and protecting elite billionaires who look at Americans and American communities as commodities to exploit. To be clear, I want to win back the White House, and I want to take back Congress, and we will. Trust me. But I refuse to have the DNC be a one-trick pony. Enough with that. We cannot just focus on the top of the ticket races or federal power at the expense of building power at the local level. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. You see, my motto at the DNC is when you organize everywhere, you can win anywhere. And where that starts is at the grassroots, making sure we're competing in every single space. We can take back our states, our counties, our towns, our legislatures, our courts, and yes, even our country. The DNC will put resources into local races, not just lip service, but real tangible resources. We're already working with Cheyenne on figuring out what that investment's going to look like and how we are going to be true partners in the work that you do every single day. We, and all of you in this room, can show what our Democratic Party is capable of when we change the game and we organize everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. Not just where we performed well in the past, not just in blue states or purple states, everywhere, up and down the ballot. This isn't just a one-cycle philosophy either. It's for the next decade. Now look, if you'll oblige me for a second, I'm going to have to use a hockey analogy because I'm from Minnesota, right? So, you know, A famous hockey player once said, you have to skate to where the puck will be, not where the puck is. You see, that's the other challenge for our party, is not just the fact that they focus too much on federal power, but they just focus on one election cycle, one campaign, one candidate, at the expense of actually a long-term plan on how to build power up and down the ballot throughout the country around our agenda. You see, I'm old enough to have followed this conservative movement for the last 40 to 50 years. They've had a plan on how to do exactly that. Our own indifference, as an example, to school board races through the years has resulted in the far right taking over some of the largest school districts in this nation, where they're banning books, they're whitewashing history, they're attacking our children. That is as much on them as it is on us for ignoring races because they're nonpartisan. There is no such thing as a nonpartisan race in this country. Every race matters. Every race has been politicized by the far right, and again, if we continue to ignore these races, we will continue to lose public policy battles throughout this country. And you know what? Voters are hungry for leaders right now. They're hungry for leadership. What our families are facing right now, they're facing an economic train wreck. Hate and division in this country. We've never seen political violence that is off the charts. Life is getting harder every single day for Americans right now. And in D.C., these Republicans have put all their eggs this year into passing one of the least popular bills in recent history. It's the biggest cut to health care ever. It's the biggest cut to food assistance ever. It kicks seniors out of nursing homes. It eliminates nearly 2 million construction jobs. It raises electricity costs for nearly every American. And I'm sure most of you in this room are already hearing about a lot of these challenges for what your residents are facing. You're hearing it every single day. Their bill explodes our national debt by trillions. Trillions. Just to funnel extra tax breaks to guys with private jets and mega yachts who get rich by outsourcing American jobs. Now look, it's not our job, any of us, to help Jeff Bezos buy out a European city for his wedding. That may be what Bezos wants. That may be what his new wife wants. But that's not what Democrats want, and certainly that's not what Americans want. It's also not our job to protect Donald Trump from the Epstein files. As Democrats, our job is to make sure that families have health care and kids don't go hungry. To make sure that parents can take their newborn to the doctor. To make sure our union brothers and sisters can build more houses. To make sure our elderly neighbors aren't kicked out of their nursing homes. Republicans have abandoned all of these folks. Now look, 115,000 local races this year. That's what's happening this year. 115,000 local races. 115,000 chances to gain ground, to reverse course, to show our values everywhere. Now look, we will win. Not just the argument, but elections. Your elections. We're already winning many of these elections that are going unnoticed, untalked about by the press because they want to focus on all the big elections. Now others can call 2025 an off year, but not me. As DNC chair, and when I was the chair in Minnesota, I said there's no such thing as an off year. Every year we have elections. Every single year. We have 115,000 local elections this year. We have just as many next year. And so we have to fight every single day. And I'll promise you this as your chair. There are no such things as taking off anytime anymore. We are going to run a permanent campaign everywhere, every day, every day. And DMO, look, we are running a permanent campaign mode right now in the communities that you represent. We're working with the DMO. We're working with the DMA. We're working with the NDCO. We're working with other local government committees to make sure we're partnering, bringing them in a way to actually strategize about how we win up and down the ballot. Now look, I started this job in February. And as of now, I've been to over half of the country. 30-something states to be exact, 32. And if you ask me if there's a limit to how many cups of lukewarm hotel coffee you can drink, I will tell you yes, for sure. And it's actually 343 cups. So, but that's the answer. And I think I hit my limit about 10 states ago, if I'm being honest with you. But look, I'm on the road because I promised this when I ran. I said I'm going to get the DNC out of DC. People said, what the hell does that mean? Does it mean you're going to move the headquarters? No, it means changing the mindset of how we do this business. You see too many people in Washington, D.C., they think they have all the answers. Most of them have never set foot in any of our states. And I can tell you this much. None of them know how to win elections in Minnesota, right? They don't know how to win elections in most of your states. We have to trust people on the ground, closest to the voters, which is each of you in this room, on how to win those elections. I said we're going to get the DNC out of D.C. because we have to listen. We have to learn. And we have to remake how our party does its business. And you know what? I'm putting my money where our mouth is already. Every month, the DNC is now spending $1 million. It's sending $1 million to state parties to help Democrats hold more trainings, to hire more staff, to do more coordinating and more organizing. It's happening in your cities and towns and backyards. When I was elected, I said two things. First, we're not going to wait until 2026 to get started. And second, we're not going to be afraid of anything. We're not going to be afraid of anything. And let me just take a moment, because I know things are anxious. Everyone's nervous, especially after what happened last week, especially what we're seeing in these last few months. An unprecedented attack on our Constitution. But I want to tell you, on Friday, our staff at the DNC, my colleagues, had to evacuate the building 2 days in a row because of bomb threats. Most of these colleagues of mine, 20 years old, maybe a little bit older, but most of them in their 20s, early 30s. Never been through something like this. You can imagine as they're running out of the building in tears and anxiety and nervousness, right, about having to face a bomb threat on the heels of that assassination last week. And what I said to them last Friday when we gathered on a team call is this: it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be anxious, but don't be afraid. I'm not afraid. What do I mean by that? And I shared a story. I'm really off script here, and I'm sorry. But I shared a story about John Lewis. When John Lewis stood on one end of the Edmund Pettus Bridge with those marchers, he looked across the bridge, as did all those marchers, and what did they see? They saw those police with their billy clubs waiting for them on the other side. Sure, they were nervous. Sure, they were anxious. They knew what was waiting for them on the other side, but they weren't afraid. They marched anyways. This is a moment right now where we can be afraid, for sure, and cower into the corners, or we can stand up and fight back. Truly fight back. We don't fight with guns and bullets. We fight by standing up. We fight by showing up. We fight by registering people to vote. We fight by making sure that people know what we stand for and getting people out so we can win elections. That's how we resolve our differences in this country, not what we've seen this year. I had to go and bury one of my best friends 3 months ago in Minnesota, who was assassinated. And you know what's crazy about all this? Days after Melissa was buried, people stopped talking about it. As if somehow this is now commonplace in our society that people can be killed because of their beliefs or their opinions. This is, unfortunately, who we've become, and it's not who we have to be as a country. And I implore all of us in this moment, don't be afraid. Stand up and keep fighting for what we believe in. But remember what this is about, because we are literally at a precipice right now where we are seeing our constitutional rights completely trampled, our Constitution shredded in front of our eyes. And if we're not willing to fight like hell now, when will we fight? Because this is a moment that requires us, all of us, to be in this. Back on script. I'll tell you, we did some research a month ago We ask people to tell us, what is the number one word that you would describe the Democratic Party as? What do you think it was? It wasn't good. Weak. Yes, someone got it back there. And it's a damn shame that people don't feel like we're actually going to stand up for them anymore, right? When you think about this, some of you know this, my first boss in politics was a bushy-haired college professor named Paul Wellstone, who served in the U.S. Senate. And Paul was an OG progressive, and he used to say something that's always stuck with me. He said, you should never separate the life you lead from the words you speak. Think about that for a moment. Why do people think we're weak? Because we say one thing out of our mouth, and when given a chance to actually stand up and do something about it, we don't. And even if we don't have power, we still need to fight for what we believe in. We still need to give it an effort, give everything we can to actually trying to accomplish what we said we would do and the promises that we made. We can't say to voters that we're going to fight for them, fight for their families, fight for working people, and then when given the chance, do nothing with it. You see, our ethos has to be that power is fleeting. We don't know when we'll ever have power again, so God damn it, let's use the power when we have it to make the biggest difference. As many people as we can. You see, they think we're being inauthentic when we say one thing and do another. And I'll tell you what pissed me off. 2020, we win complete control of the federal government. We couldn't even get the John R. Lewis voting rights bill passed, or the Freedom to Vote bill passed. You think one thing that would unite all Democrats in this big tent party of ours is voting rights? No, we couldn't even get that done. And that's why people are losing faith and trust in our party. What do they like about Trump? They think he's strong. They think he's authentic. Now, I think he's a small, petty, and insecure man. But it doesn't matter what I think. Yes. You do not need a miracle to grow a spine. Think about that, guys. You don't need a miracle to grow a spine. You need a willingness to do what's right, even in this moment, as I said, especially in this moment. And as I said just a moment ago, let me ask you this. And it's a question I want you to ask other people back in your communities. If you're not willing to stand up and fight like hell what you believe in, do you really believe in it at all? Do you really believe in it at all? And I'll say, look, the biggest divide in our party right now is not ideological. The biggest divide in our party right now is between people who are standing up, who are fighting back, who are pushing back with everything they have, using every lever of power and every platform they can to actually fight back against this authoritarian fascist regime, and those who are sitting on the sidelines. You know, one of my old bosses, James Carville, I worked for the Clinton campaign, as did Jimmy. I worked for that campaign back in '92, and Carville said recently, look, we should just get out of the way as a Democratic Party and watch Donald Trump fail. That's not a strategy. That's the worst bit of advice I've ever heard, to be honest. So look, I will say this. When I say fighting, it doesn't mean getting up and give a fiery speech. I mean actually putting our words into action, organizing, mobilizing, winning. There is an opportunity right now. Right now, Donald Trump's given us a gift. He has given us a gift to actually have conversations with many parts of our coalition who've left us over these years. People who no longer feel like the Democratic Party represents them. Last year there was research that should have been the canary in the coal mine for all of us, that showed for the first time ever the perceptions of the two political parties has changed. That the majority of Americans now believe that the Republican Party best represents the interests of the working class and the poor, and the Democratic Party is the party of the wealthy and the elites. How in the hell did we get to that moment? But this is not a surprise for any of you. People don't vote on policy and issues. They vote on perceptions and feelings. And that's what we have to acknowledge as a party, is too many people who used to vote for us and stand with us are no longer doing that because they don't believe that we're standing up and fighting for them. They don't feel it in their lives. They don't see it tangibly in their communities. And that's what all of you are doing. That's why it's so important, because the work you're doing every single day at a local level, they can see and feel. And so while Washington is completely broken right now, what's not broken is what's happening in your communities. So I told Cheyenne, you know what? If I have my druthers, what we're going to do is make sure we're supporting every single one of you in this room and all the people who aren't in this room who are running for local offices, because that's where we're finding success. That's where we're connecting our values to policy. That's where people are feeling the tangible impacts of people who actually give a shit and give a damn about improving people's lives. That's each of you in this room. Now look, the American people need champions right now. They deserve someone to actually fight for them. And a year or two ago, as I mentioned, we talked about this just a second ago about the perceptions, right? We have to actually make sure that perceptions match reality again. We have to give people hope. We have to find the common beliefs and common language that unites us. And to me, that means focusing on a democratic agenda that unites families across this country. I always say that the thing that connects a corn farmer in southern Minnesota with a iron miner up on the Iron Range, with a new refugee in the Twin Cities, very disparate groups, right? The one thing that connects all of them is that each of them has a job. Each of them is working their ass off and feeling like they're falling behind. Each of them wants to build a better life for their family and achieve this ideal of an American dream. That's true in Minnesota, it's true here in North Carolina, and it's true everywhere else. At the heart of this American experiment is a simple promise that everyone deserves a shot, no matter who you are, no matter who you love, no matter where you live or where you're from. Everyone deserves an opportunity to get ahead, not just get by. You see, another thing my mentor and hero said to me many years ago, which I think should be the slogan of the Democratic Party, frankly, is Paul said we all do better when we all do better. How simple, but how profound. Because when we say all as Democrats, we mean all. Whether you're at the top rung of the economic ladder or the bottom rung of the economic ladder or somewhere in between, we mean all. When there's a rising tide, every boat should be lifted. Everyone should be able to get ahead in their lives. Yet again, so many people feel like we're not fighting for them. Now look, we know the truth, by the way, as Democrats, that this opportunity is not offered equally. Too many see the American dream like a distant promise than a lived reality, and not on our watch. DMO, a new day has arrived for this Democratic Party. We are the party of full employment, not struggle. We are the party of safe and thriving communities with clean air, clean water, and good schools for our children. We are the party of economic security for everybody, not just the wealthy few. We are the party of dignity, of wages that lift people up. We are a party that believes every child born in our country should have every chance to climb to the top and then reach back to pull others up too. Too often we treat elections like a sport. We pat ourselves on the back and we raise a trophy, we cry over a loss, and then we head home. But this work is much bigger than scoreboards and news cycles. It's bigger than victory laps and saying, oh well, we'll get them next year. It's much, much bigger. We have a duty to fight, to organize and campaign because people's lives are on the line. I want to tell you something. In 2016, and during that election, I had a young Democratic Socialist in Minnesota say to me, when is the DFL going to realize it's okay to lose an election to prove a point? The answer is never. The answer is never. You can't lose elections to prove some sort of ideological point. My mom was 15 years old when she had me. She raised 4 kids by herself and struggled mightily as a house cleaner, and I'll tell you this much. If it wasn't for a community who gave a damn about 4 little kids and a mom who was struggling, I wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for a government that had programs like Medicaid, who gave me health care as a young boy, or SNAP, who gave me food when I was a young boy, I won't be here. You see, so when we say we want to sacrifice an election to prove a point, it belies the whole point here, which is that there are people behind every single one of these numbers that are on a spreadsheet that Elon Musk is cutting is a family like mine and other families who are relying on a community to make sure that they have a damn chance. We cannot sacrifice. We cannot. So let me just say this. We do not build political power to hoard it. We don't build political power to sit on it. And we sure as hell don't build political power to stifle opposition, to go after people, and to capitalize on their pain. Democrats use our power to make people's lives better, to end barriers, and turn the American dream into an American reality for every single person, no matter where they start. But that only happens if we do the work. If we build a foundation, precinct by precinct, county by county, state by state. DMO, you're doing the work. You're building that foundation for our party. It's up to us to support you, because we aren't just fighting now for the Democratic Party. We're fighting for people. We're fighting for their lives, for their future, their families. We're fighting for their homes, their education, their jobs. We're fighting for their safety, security, and prosperity. We're fighting for freedoms and for their fairness and for opportunity. And lastly, we're fighting because we give a damn. We give a damn. Every one of you in this room gives a damn about what you do. You make deep sacrifices to do it. You're in it for the right reasons. Our party's trying to make a difference in people's lives, and we got to go out there and fight for it every day. Be nervous, be anxious, be safe and secure, most importantly, in this crazy time we live in. But don't be afraid. Keep marching for justice. Keep marching for economic security. Keep marching for people, and keep marching for the type of country and communities that we all deserve to live in. Thank you so much.